The morning light filtered through the elm grove, casting a soft green glow over the young aethereal and painting her long white feathered wings with the yellow-green hues of spring. The aethereal's eyes darted back and forth, filled with distrust and fear as she glanced between Darkwood and Iris. Darkwood's calm promise to reach the Eyrie by nightfall did little to ease her fears. His concern growing, he tried again.
"What is your name?"
he asked gently, his voice soft and tender. The girl shifted, tucking her knees closer to her chest.
"Crystal Song,"
she whispered.
"Crystal Song. That is a beautiful name,"
Darkwood said with a gentle smile.
"Are you from the Eyrie? How do you come to be here of all places, and in such a state?"
"I run the reach,"
she answered, her voice barely audible. Darkwood frowned, looking down for a moment before meeting her gaze again.
"Do you flee from Sir Darius?"
Crystal Song pulled herself in tighter, trying to make herself even smaller. She did not answer.
"We are not allied with Sir Darius,"
Darkwood reassured her.
"We have naught to do with that vile man. Is it from Sir Darius that you flee?"
She nodded. While Darkwood spoke with the aethereal, Iris studied the young girl closely. Crystal Song's skin was pale and clammy from pain, her face damp with sweat, and she appeared weak from hunger. Iris noticed her muscles trembling as she hugged her legs close to her chest. The broken wing lying on the ground appeared to be healing at the wrong angle, suggesting it had been broken for some time. Tears welled in Iris's eyes, but she quietly brushed them away, steeling herself. She had work to do, and emotions must be set aside for the present. She knelt beside the young girl.
"Crystal Song,"
she said gently.
"May I touch your wing? I wish to inspect the break."
Crystal Song nodded, watching closely as Iris lightly touched her wing, feeling the break. The aethereal winced and sucked in her breath involuntarily. Iris frowned, her fears confirmed.
"Lord Darkwood,"
she said, her voice serious as she stood. Darkwood stood with her, and they walked a short distance from the aethereal.
"Her wing has not healed properly,"
Iris whispered.
"It will. You will need to be
Iris stopped, tears catching in her throat. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath.
Not now. Not now,"
she whispered to herself.
"I have work to do."
After a slow, deep breath, she opened her eyes and looked at Darkwood with determination.
"Her wing will need to be rebroken and set properly."
Darkwood nodded, concern etched deeply in his gaze.
"She lacks the strength to hold her wings down while I fly,"
he added, reaching out to gently squeeze Iris's arm in comfort.
"Her wings will act as sails,
He continued.
catching the wind, and she will glide off my back like a kite."
Iris sighed, looking down into feet.
Sir Darius is at our back. He cannot be more than 5 miles down the road.
She looked up at Darkwood, hopeful.
"Can you not protect her from Sir Darius should he arrive?"
"No, I cannot. Sir Darius is the law of the Reach, and the Stygian Reach will not stand by if I attack their magistrate. There would be consequences. We must remain secret, unless we have no other choice."
Iris started thinking again.
"We can tie down her wings,"
she said, thinking aloud.
"although it will cause her pain. But I can help with that."
"I need a proper belt to bind her wings securely. We would need to return to Grimswell Crossroads."
"I cannot go with you,"
Iris responded, Darkwood's look of surprise and consternation prompted an explanation.
Any with the sight can see her. Though her light is weak, it is visible. I must stay with her and conceal her light.
Darkwood's eyes narrowed and his jaw hardened. With Sir Darius so close, he did not like this plan at all.
Iris, I do not.
She interrupted him.
And bring food for her. She may not eat,
She continued.
being in such pain, but please bring food for her as well.
She stared, unblinking and determined, into Darkwood's obsidian eyes before pivoting and returning to Crystal Song. Darkwood followed her.
Crystal Song,
Iris said softly as she sat beside the young girl in the grass.
Lord Darkwood is a dragon, and he will fly us to the Eyrie, but we must bind your wings. If we do not, your wings will catch the wind and you will be swept from his back like a dove in a storm. He is going now to collect a belt. While he is gone, you and I will hide. You have done well hiding and protecting yourself, and now we shall hide together.
Iris reached out and took one of Crystal Song's small hands into her own, giving it a reassuring squeeze.
You need do nothing,
She continued.
Sit as you are, and I will sit here. Though I may appear to be sleeping, I promise I am not. I am awake. I can hear you, and I can hear everything around us. I will be focusing, not sleeping. If you need me, call my name, Iris. I am right here. You are not alone.
Then Iris looked up at the unhappy Darkwood, her eyes reflecting a quiet resolve. He glared for a moment, before saying gruffly,
I will fly as the wind and return swiftly. Stay hidden until I return.
Iris nodded solemnly and looked back at Crystal Song, offering a gentle smile. Then, still holding the young aethereal's shaking hand, she closed her eyes and became still. As Darkwood flew, every minute stretched into an eternity, and every thought spiraled into tragedy. Whether his eyes were open or closed, visions of Iris and Crystal Song sitting vulnerable beneath a large elm haunted him. He imagined Sir Darius and his men descending upon them, their approach inevitable and merciless. He landed as near as possible to the horse and wheel, spooking beast and man alike as he thundered down. Transforming swiftly into his human form, he dashed into the inn. His conversation with Atterbury was brief and urgent. When Atterbury learned that Sir Darius hunted an ethereal child, he muttered in shock,
The Eyrie will have something to say about that.
before hurrying off to retrieve the items Darkwood requested. Returning in just over an hour, Darkwood landed outside the grove. He quickly transformed, his breath coming in heavy gasps and his face flushed from exertion as he sprinted in at full speed. As he rounded the elm, Iris rose to greet him. Darkwood let out an audible sigh of relief, leaning against a tree to catch his breath.
You are safe.
He said quietly, his voice strained.
Yes, as you see.
Replied Iris softly.
Did you see Sir Darius? Do you know where he is?
Crystal Song looked up with frightened eyes at the mention of Sir Darius.
He is not a mile down the road.
Darkwood answered as he handed Iris the bag from Atterbury.
We must hurry.
He then collapsed onto the grass, lying down with his chest heaving as he regained his breath. Iris pulled strawberries and bread from the bag, offering them to Crystal Song.
There is so much food here.
She said, surprised.
Atterbury called me an idiot for leaving without provisions for the day.
Darkwood replied from the grass, still somewhat out of breath.
He backed enough to feed a kingdom.
Iris smiled at the thought of Atterbury's kindness. Crystal Song devoured the food quickly and unceremoniously, giving Iris hope for her health and recovery. As Crystal Song finished her food, Iris pulled the heavy leather belt from the bag.
I will do that,
Said Darkwood as he sat up.
No,
Replied Iris, softly but resolutely.
you must fly at speed to the eyrie, so rest. I will do this.
He lay back down in the grass and listened as Iris spoke softly to Crystal Song.
Crystal Song, I need you to sit up and lift your arms. Are you able to do that?
The young girl did as asked, but winced as she lifted her arms. Iris frowned, wondering what else might be broken. She wrapped the belt around Crystal Song's body and wings and began to tighten it. Crystal Song cried out in pain, and Iris stopped. She realized she must summon magic to ease Crystal Song's suffering. Closing her eyes and slowing her breath, Iris settled into the timeless moment, feeling the magical energy swirl around her. Upon opening her eyes, her focus narrowed to Crystal Song, her sight becoming tunnel vision as the rest of the world melted away into the liminal space. With the tunnel vision came a sense of oneness between herself and Crystal Song. She began weaving the spell.
I know you heard.
Iris spoke gently, her words resonating with more than mere sound in the sacred space. Their energy became focused purpose and power.
I know you are weary.
Like a spider weaving a delicate, dew-kissed web, she wove her intention into reality with the gossamer strands of magic.
You must remain strong for just a little longer. Journey's end is near.
Energy pulsed through Iris's hands.
Close your eyes, little one, and listen. Hearken to all the sounds round you. The whispering wind in the trees. The playful cricket that ought to be asleep. Lord Darkwood's breathing. My voice. Which sound most enchants you?
Your voice.
Crystal Song said quietly.
Then focus on my voice. Hear my voice and focus on it. I shall sing you the witch's lullaby that my mother would sing when I could not sleep.
As Iris began to sing, her voice filled the small wood like soft rain falling in a dark, moonlit forest.
Rest, dear child, in the forest deep, where magic dwells and fairies sleep. Close your eyes, let dreams take flight under shining stars in velvet night.
Darkwood felt the world drop away and a deep peace settle into his soul.
Magic swirls and waterfalls, crickets sing and the owl calls. Silver moonlight guides your way through trees where gentle shadows play.
He felt the strength of the earth rise through him, returning energy and strength to his limbs as she sang.
To forest deep where witches dwell, hear the chime of their midnight bell. With skin as dew and eyes of sight, they dance around in the pale moonlight.
Iris slowly and gently bound Crystal Song's wings with the belt, staying connected to the young aethereal through her song. Iris could feel the ebb and flow of the pain like a boat rocking on ocean swells. With each stab of pain, she would ease and adjust the position of the belt before tightening it again.
Rest, dear child, in the forest deep, where magic dwells and fairies sleep. Stars above, twinkling bright, guard your dreams till morning light.
As Iris's lullaby died away, Darkwood sat up. She looked back at him.
We are ready.
She said.
There's magic in that lullaby.
Said Darkwood.
There's magic in everything, Lord Darkwood.
Replied Iris as she stood and helped Crystal Song to her feet.
To ask where the magic lies is akin to a fish asking where the water dwells. We swim in it.
Just then, Crystal Song jumped, startling Iris. Fear returned to Crystal Song's eyes as the sound of horses penetrated the wood, and she glanced apprehensively through the grove toward the road, a few 100 feet away. Iris and Darkwood followed her gaze.
We must hurry,
Declared Darkwood as he stood, his voice edged with urgency. With gentle care, he gathered Crystal Song into his arms, mindful of her broken wing. Leading the small party, he moved swiftly towards the far edge of the wood, their hearts pounding in unison with the looming threat of Sir Darius at their backs.